Welcome back, everyone, to part two of topic envy. We've had quite an interesting discussion prior to this around what envy means, how it shows up, and some of our own personal experiences with envy and some of the things that strategies and approaches that we use to combat it and come out on the other side of envy and not let it take us down with it. So we wanted to also use this time to talk about envy within ourselves, but more envy of our previous selves or even our future selves.
You're gonna have to unpack that one, my friends. Why?
Because when I think about where I want to be, I'm just annoyed with myself currently that I'm not there yet. And so I'm annoyed or envious of the ideal futuristic Evelkah.
That is a lot of pressure.
It is.
Why are we doing that?
I don't know.
Take it out the basket.
I don't know.
Do not need.
But I think, I think for me, I'm quite an ambitious person. And I think maybe it's the offshoot of my ambition where I think, okay, I know I'm going to get here. I'm going to work really hard, but I know I'm not there yet, but I know I can be there. And in the future, that is just somewhere someone that I want to be, but I'm frustrated that I'm still where I am now. And I think it's that kind of not appreciating the current moment where I'm so forward thinking that I forget to actually live
in the present
and not appreciate. So I go into this state of self-envy where I'm just like, Evelkah, I know you should have been further ahead now, or, if you work really hard, you'll get there, but currently you're not here yet, so you might as well just figure something out. But then on the flip side, it's like, I look at my younger self and, I sit there and think, you were so brave. You were so confident. You used to do some incredible things. And what happened in between then and now?
Right.
And it's like, I miss that, free-spirited Evelkah where, she just got something and she went on with it and, did it. I used to do recite poems and scriptures and verses and things like that at church and had to say, and I used to always get the longest one because they trusted me to memorize it. And my dad and my mom used to, every time after school, after I finished my homework, it was then like, okay, you now need to learn your recitation for church and so on and so forth. And some of those things that I had to read were like a page long and I had to memorize it. I sit here and think, if I get a page long to memorize now, I don't think I'll be able to. Maybe I would, but I'm just like, that was so cool.
That you could do that.
I did that. And now I feel like I'm at a place where maybe life is just a little bit more coloured and a little bit more full where I don't think I have the ability to do so anymore. But
I used to be able to remember everybody's name.
Really?
My family would say, I don't know how you do that. I meet you once and I remember your name, and I'll see you maybe some other time, months later, years later, and I'll still remember. And I'll remember what you told me and what was happening to you then. I used to have memory like that.
Wow.
And then I don't know, that kind of changed. And I'm just like, I don't have the grasp of those type of details anymore. But I do know, what you said, there is that space between. I remember probably the last time where that gift or something, that skill was super fluid and super easy to access, to when there's space where I think life had got so full of other things and I didn't have the bandwidth, the capacity to hold on to that anymore. Because I was literally, you're logging data all the time.
Yeah.
But I become quite frazzled because life circumstances had happened that I was just like, and now I struggle with sometimes people's names. And I'm like, I used to remember everybody's name and your face from one meeting every single time. And it worked really well because I was in a position when I was younger, early 20s, in it was working for like in a community kind of space, and the idea was to attract like young people and students to like finding a really like a space in this community. So remembering that like who they were was really important, because a lot of young people, when they're figuring themselves out at university for the first time, they're like, I'm an anomaly. I haven't really come with like a whole lot of people like I did with secondary school from my primary school. I'm out here on my own for the first time. And that used to be a bit of a superpower. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel really seen because you know my name, you remembered this stuff I said, that means you really listen. And for me, that was like super important, because it's true. Just because I was able to make you feel that way, it wasn't a skill on my part. That was actually what I genuinely believed was important. But I can't do that anymore. I wish, I think that would help me so much if I could still hold on to that. And when you talk about envy of your old self, like that is so true. Like there are definitely times when I don't know if anybody else feels this way. You'll look back at like photos of yourself and I'm just like, man, I just took for granted what I had. Honestly, like, you know, we've moved, life has happened, and like you said, life becomes colored or full, and life just lives. Like you go through challenges, hard times, it chips off a little bit from you. You sand it down in some moments, like it's not as raw, as fresh, as ready. Like in saying that, I wouldn't change my journey for the world. No. Well, actually, maybe there's some things I would, but like there's nothing I can do about that. So I try to do your best in terms of, I've also learned so much, the depth of myself as a person. I would say like, I didn't have this then. And I don't know if I would trade that necessarily. But what I would say is like, skills like I just shared, like I used to be, because maybe I was freer, I was lighter. I wasn't so weighed down by some of the things I was yet to experience. And then also like, I just took for granted, like I used to, you know, this is terrible, and probably this is something maybe women experience more. It's like, I took for granted the body dysmorphia that we have growing up in this world is absolutely wild. I look at myself, and I was 30 then, and I looked like a child, like so small and petite. And I was like a size 14, but my bone structure with my height, like it didn't look like like a curvy person. But according to the world, that's really large. That's on the larger side. And I'm just like, but actually, you look incredible. I'm sorry to say, I was a hot thing, guys. I'm not even sorry about saying that, but like I was, and I was just like, I didn't appreciate, like, look at what I have in my life. And I cared about that so much. It made me so, I remember like, you would find yourself internally disqualifying yourself from engaging with people, or not having the confidence to talk, or wear that outfit that I absolutely would have like, that would have smashed it if I'd worn that in that body back then. And now it's just not something I can even consider, because it's just not the same thing. I've learned to like, at the same, like I appreciate what I have now. And learn how with like new styles and everything, and I love what I am. But like when you look at what you had then in a world, it's just like you take that for granted, and I'm just like, you just had, like, why don't you and you mourn for that, you mourn for it. And I have this discussion with my sister as well, and again these are contextual examples, and I'm not saying that everybody goes through that, but these are just personal, and I'm sharing these with you, and please have a laugh, because we have to laugh at ourselves. And she talks about like before she had her kid, I haven't had kids yet. And I'm just like, wow, okay. But that's a real thing. And she says like when she looks at the pictures from us when we was like younger then, and like now that she's had children, obviously her body's changed, and she's so like, she's a beautiful person. She's still stunning to me in every way. And like her body carries the weight of a real woman, because like this has carried 2 stunning children, and I will forever be grateful for giving me my niece and nephew, which are half mine, and I'm glad that they know that. But like, it's, you have a different, this is beauty in something else. But like, I know that she looks, and we talk about our pictures from when we were younger, before this was our story, and just like, why did we not appreciate that we would get so like, oh, I just don't look beautiful enough, or you don't feel good enough based on appearances. I'm like, we just did not know what we had. And the envy that we feel now, we're like, I can't turn back time. I don't really want to. I want to be stronger now. Back then it wasn't about lifting and stuff like this. It was more about just being like svelte. But like, it's just crazy that, like you said, there is a level of self-envy we must still have. So I don't have it for my future self. I'm ready for her. It's the people behind. And I'm like, why couldn't we have just kept on to some of those?
No, but you're so right. And I think I definitely have had recently, especially, I don't know, I've been, this sounds so weird, but we're in a safe space, everyone. So please,
safe space.
It's just like I've been craving my younger self in a way. I've just maybe I don't know. Maybe I need to speak to my therapist. I haven't seen her for a while, so maybe that's wrong.
And we fully support getting therapy.
100%.
100%. Such a great tool.
But I've just been, having like flashbacks of myself when I was, a child growing up, and the things that I was doing and the fun I used to have, but also, just that free spirited nature. And I miss that younger self. And I think it's definitely, I think she was a lot more resilient than I am now, honestly. Like, I still think she'll be proud of how far we've come.
100%.
But I don't think, like, I was as resilient as when I was younger than I am now. I don't know why.
I'm going to just say and turn this upside. I beg to differ. Okay.
Do you think?
100%. So I've known you for a good part of 4 years now? Yes.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, so sorry. Like,
Oh
yeah, 4 years now.
Ew.
No, that doesn't make sense. We're heading into like probably 2.5 years. Yeah, because I think I met you in 2021. And it's 2024 now. Yeah, so we're coming into the fourth year.
Oh my gosh, ew.
We're coming into that. But like in this time, like people don't know, like, so I'm like 40 years old, right? And Evelkah is in her 20s. And when I met her, she's in like even earlier 20s now. But what, like, your tenacity was like a huge thing. I'm like, this girl, like, she just goes and you force yourself into situations that you're like, I know I'm so out of my depth, but I'm just going to stick it through and know for the best. Like the fact that I've watched you consciously make that decision. And we're talking about, yes, even in our approaches to business, I wouldn't be here. I don't have the resilience for this. Evelkah dragged us here and we're here today. Glory be. But like, and to see someone have that kind of tenacity so young, and you face and confront, like, clearly you have fears, but you don't let them stop you. Like, you are resilient. You've moved halfway up the country because you just felt this is the right thing to do on your own, to give yourself room and space to heal from like stuff that was happening in your life. Like, that takes, they don't have courage to do that. So I know, like, you feel that way, but for those sitting on the front line seats of your life, can we just say that is still very largely at play?
I know, but I'm even talking about my younger self. Like,
I don't know if I could cope meeting her then, because what was that even like?
She was amazing. Like, I'm gonna be biased. Like, I wish I was her right now, because don't get me wrong, I was a little bit of a crybaby when but like I the moments that I remember the most are when I was involved with the church a lot. So I used to go with the church, read scriptures, all that good stuff. And I just keep going back to that moment where I remember I used to go onto stage and I never used to get nervous. Like, I don't even know how I did it. Like, maybe because I had really good, training and prep beforehand. And I used to just go out there and words used to come out my mouth and I don't understand where it's coming from. But I can't actually remember feeling nervous in those moments. Wow. I used to just go out there and do it. Now, I get a bit of heart palpitation. I start, questioning myself. I start doubting myself. There is this lack of confidence that I now feel more than ever. And it's just like, and the age that I'm specifically referring to is that 5 to 9 age. That's when I thought that's the younger self that I kind of more jealous. Like, she was just so brave and so incredible, and I'm just like, I wish I was her again. Like, I wish I could instill that confidence, and it's probably still in me somewhere deep down, buried around the trauma.
You don't need to scratch fast, so. But sure.
But it, when you look back and you're just like, gosh, man, like, if she did it, surely I can now, but I don't know if I can get there, or I don't know how to get there again. And it does make me question. And I think especially in this last week or so, I don't know, my memory just keeps going back to that age, that younger Evelkah. And I'm just like, what happened? Like, I can't remember or pinpoint anything specifically happening at that point. But I'm just like, I know life got in the way, you know, situations, family dynamics changed, you know, I moved to the UK, all of that. But that girl, she was phenomenal. Like, if she just kept on that path, I probably would be
But I think you raised
in a very different place.
I think you raised such a good point there, because I think we cannot negate. I know we're like, I wish I was still holding on to that, but we cannot negate. Like, we both know between that time of when you're about 9 years old, about how things started to change, and circumstances external to yourself. It shows you the fragility even of like how life can impact the trajectories of who we are, not just in pathways, but how we end up seeing ourselves. And I think when you've had this ongoing kind of confidence that was clearly based on a foundation that you believed was like, this is my security. When that security is ripped away from you, especially as a child, that's normally out of your control. You don't ask for those circumstances. And like you, I think I remember, so when I think about it, I was probably quite tenacious as well. Like, I would just go and do it. Like, no one would have to tell me. My mum will tell me even today, like, you were the kind of girl that would just say, so I was really sick on this one day, and I was due to go and do a trampolining competition. And I was about 13 years old. And I was really sick that one, and I was lying in my bed, in my tracksuit, in my leotard, just in my bed, curled up there. And my mum came, she's like, baby, do you still want to go? Because, like, you're really not well. I was like, no, I'm just going to go collect my gold medal, and then I'll come home. I went to the competition. I won my gold medal. And I came off the podium after they awarded me. I was like, I'm ready to go back to bed. And then that's literally what I did. That was the tenacity girl. And did that change over time? 100%. And I do know, so that was then, and like we've mentioned that before, and I do know when that confidence, security of sense of self was definitely shifted by like a really long period of time. And I know when that was. I won't show you the details, but like I know when that rocked me, because even my husband says now, it's just like, that girl that you were back then that I first met, she's so different to now. Like, where's that confidence that was there? Where's that, like, you made me feel like I could do anything. And that wasn't just about me feeling like I could do anything. Apparently I had the influence and impact or contagiousness to make other people feel the same way. So I think when we feel this way, like, I wonder if there are many people that may be coming onto this conversation that can resonate with this particular story. Like, I was like this once, and then stuff happened, and I'm not like that anymore. And I want to get back to that. And I think it's about giving yourself a little bit of grace. There is our part to play. I'm not negating that at all. But like, you also have to acknowledge, like, when you've had that kind of, I'm going to say it's probably like either a trauma or a moment in life that really shook the security of your sense of self. And that can come from so many things. I was an immigrant child. We all know, like, that really shifted my confidence in just believing in anything that I was and what I wasn't. I never settled here until I was in my 20s, and we migrated here and I was 9 years old. That's a good 10-year gap of feeling this heightened sense of not belonging and just questioning my sense of self. That was like probably like one of the biggest ones, and I know that determined that. But like, we need to look at, like, when these things happen, understand as to why things have been shaken. Understand in terms of, like, give yourself grace and room. Like, I actually didn't have much control over that one, and that's okay. Because I can long for that person, and she may not come back in the same way, but she's there. But give her the chance to come back. Like, you have to woo them and heal them to come out and play again, if that makes sense. And I really hope that whoever comes across this conversation gives themselves grace to realize that, but today is a new day, and we can do something about that. Like, it's not about longing for that and that's dead, gone, past. Like, maybe they just need you to engage with it so that they're healed again, so that they can come out and share in your new life, in this new season that you're in, some of those traits, and bring it back again to enable you to what's ahead.
And I think when we hold on to that old self and, you know, envy what we were back then, we almost self-disqualify ourselves from moments and things
for the future
and future.
For sure.
And I think that's something that I've, you know, as much as I wish I was still that little girl, I know that there are certain situations that I have self-disqualified myself because I thought I could never do that. You know, like I won't be able to. And it's that battle, that like mindset battle that I've been playing with myself and trying to, you know, understand where and what paths are for me and what doors that have been open for me to, you know, journey through. And I think over the years I've learned to kind of quiet that kind of negative, that, you know, doubting kind of voice in my head to really understand, like, actually, if it doesn't hurt if I give it a go. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it does, great, brilliant. We'll see where that takes us.
But you gave yourself a chance.
But I gave myself, exactly. But don't get me wrong, there are things and jobs and opportunities, for instance, where I literally said, not doing it. I don't think I'm qualified to do it. But I think I've slowly grown my confidence over the years, and I've slowly, you know, forged forward and have been able to say yes and be a lot more open-minded, shall I say, to different opportunities, different things. And it has allowed me to be in a position where I can say, actually, my confidence is being regained. As much as I long for that person who I once was, a new person is becoming. And I, like you said, I just have to appreciate that as much as I do envy the immense confidence that she had.
She's still in there.
She's still in there. And like you said, it's just going to manifest in a different way. I'm just going to, you know, this is my process of becoming. And I love Michelle Obama. Absolutely fan. I'm such a fan of her. But in her book, one of her books is entitled Becoming, and I really connected with her on that sense, because life is, you never really, you know, end somewhere, but you constantly become, and you constantly undergoing this becoming phase in your life. Well, not phase, but journey. And it's going to take its highs, it's going to take its lows. You know, there's going to be moments where you envy someone or even yourself for what you once were. Like we talk about bodies, you know, my body shape has changed over the years, and it's just like, oh God, another pound on the scale. Okay. You know, this pants doesn't fit anymore. Okay. Like, how far are we going to go now? But you do get those moments where you just miss that person, and you just like, you didn't do that much to get where you are, but now I'm fighting a little bit harder now, and it feels a little bit more difficult. But all that is to say is we all are going through this phase of becoming, and it may not look like what we once were, it may not look like how we want it to look like, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't know if many people know, but I've also recently, I want to say, I think I can still say that, been recently baptized, and that was it's still a journey, and I think even in that process it talked about the death of your previous self, and I'm still trying to swallow that pill, because there are moments or bits of my previous self, like I said, that I really adore and I really wish I can have, but I'm also welcoming this new phase of my life, and it's such a different aspect. And yeah, I'm still trying to navigate what that looks like for me, and it's still a little bit unsettling, but I'm sure I'll get there.
Yeah, you absolutely would. And that's a whole different, I think, conversation about that old self. And I don't know if it's the same old self to do with what you're talking about. The good things about I think your innate person.
Yeah.
That confidence.
Yeah.
And I think this is more to do with like just finding her again.
Yeah.
Because she's there for a reason, for the future and the path that you have. And she just has gone quiet for a while for just like life and life circumstances, like you said. And it's trying to figure out like, what is her place now?
Yeah, it's going to be very different, but you know, we move on, people. But another aspect that I really wanted to delve into is, we talked a lot about self-envy and, you know, looking back at the past or even looking at the future. But another big aspect of envy comes from within the home and our siblings. We both are the eldest.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just feel like
that makes a lot of sense. It does realise that makes a lot of sense. How did we not figure that out? That's so crazy. Yeah.
Oh, we literally just had a light bulb moment, didn't we?
3 years later. Great.
But yeah, we both we both have younger sisters.
Yeah.
And I'm sure any kind of sibling, younger, older, have navigated this sense of jealousy with your siblings, whether it's your brother, your sister, or stepbrother or stepsister. There is an innate sense of jealousy when someone tries to steal your spotlight.
So funny.
How did you feel like when, like, wait, let's take it right at the start. When you knew that you was gonna get a younger sibling sister, what was your reaction?
So this is not probably going to be the response that you're hoping for in this context. I'd actually asked for my sister.
You know what? Same.
Again,
I was hoping you went the other way.
No, so I'd asked for my sister. And I'd said to my mom, I was like, I'd really like you to have a baby. Thanks. I was 4 years old. And then in a couple of months, I was like, Carla, Mom has something to tell you. I'm pregnant. I'm like, yeah, I know. We've had this discussion. Let's wrap this up. Literally. So when my sister arrived, she was mine. Like, she was mine to protect, to the point where my mom said, like, you were actually a bit dangerous, because when it came to basically disciplining my younger sister, I would say, no, you will give me the hiding. You'll not touch her. Like, that's the kind of way, I don't know what happened there. She was mine. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to be part of everything that it was.
Just for context, you both are 4 years apart.
We're 4 years. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I was 4 at the time when my mom told me. So like, as far as I was concerned, she was mine and everything like that. I would say, like, I never had that whole thing of, like, I would just include her in everything. Like, she was my sister. And a lot of people were like, I don't want to be seen with my kid sister. And I just was never like that. I would always include it, even up to when I got to university years.
Oh, wow.
Which was crazy, because everyone's like, who wants their kid sister? I'm like, well, I do. And she's weird. Oh, it's not happening. I never treated her like that. And so then she became everybody else's kid sister, but was included. But I think the envy thing probably only kicked in, I think, maybe later on in life, because with that came, in my view, and we've had to really engage with this, particularly in the last year, about how even some of those behaviours had kind of created perceptions of our realities that were very different.
Oh, really?
I don't think it was also helpful. Like, I think I had felt like I had taken on this very sacrificial older sister role, and it's like in this birth order kind of thing, and then she was just able to get away with doing what she wanted in very different scenarios, and then it just felt like that was acceptable, because this is the way that we'd always play that dynamic. And actually, that had gone to a really detrimental place. We're now adults. And I would say, like, it was just difficult. That was hurtful. Was it envious? It was more to do with, like, it felt for me like you just felt you could get away with so many other things, and no understanding of how this was impacting me until recently, when we've had a really, just to say, we've all sorted it. And that was like a really big moment for us. And we're now, like, I've just turned 40. This happened a year ago. So we're talking, this is over such a long period of time. And just to see how that, like, my sister is just my number one, both friend and support in every way. And we've come to this very different place of honesty, like having to like really go through that process with a fine tooth comb, and have to go through scenario that built up to these pictures that were being experienced by both of us. And she was experiencing hurt, when she would feel my resentment towards some of the things that she wouldn't understand why. And then hearing from my perspective, like, we got there because of something that happened before as a dynamic. And then she's like, I have to take accountability for the part that I played there. And like, that was a very, very big process. But like you said, there is nothing quite like the same as envy within the home or resentment in the home. Like, I don't even know. I think envy is just one of the things that get thrown into the familial dynamics when it comes to this stuff. But like, I think for me, just like, I just felt like there wasn't enough room for the both of us to, I can do whatever I like attitude, I'm going to do that thing. And seeing sometimes the repercussions that, like, I would always feel like people's expectation of me was always going to be different. They're like, well, I expect this of your younger sister because that's what she does. But don't you think about it, I expected more from me. That would literally come from people's mouths, and not just parents. So I grew up in a community. You'd have this from the community. And say, like, these are my expectations. You need to do this. You need to behave this kind of way. And a lot of the time that really kind of made me feel like I lacked a lot of freedom. in the way that it felt like she experienced more freedom. She would have terrible consequences to some of those freedoms, but she had like confidence enough, like, I'm going to do it anyway. What are you going to do? I'm like, well, I've seen actually some of the impacts, but I can't do that again to people. Like how much this impacts around us. And we talk about this now. She's like, I would have just done it anyway, mate. I'm like, we know. But like, see the perspective that we couldn't both be in that position at the time. And to be fair, since we've had this big kind of like huge transparency moment, she has fought for me to be free to make decisions without having to think about anyone else. And I do wonder that might just be like, I don't think that my story is unique. I think a lot of older siblings, particularly older female firstborns, find that they have this role. Because my husband is a firstborn too. And his experience is very different to mine. I call it, he's got entitled firstbornness.
Oh.
And when I say that, it's not the arrogant type. Like, he's like, I'm the firstborn, I'm happy with my responsibility, but I'm also happy to take the perks of it. It's quite balanced. Whereas I have very little entitlement experience, but all the weight of responsibility feeling of the firstborn. And I think a lot of girls feel that way because at home, and this might be tough, but I see a lot of memes and posts like this on Instagram about like, generally you'll find that the oldest child, she's been helping younger siblings, managing her parents, having to be the one that's expected to do better for everybody else in this new world that your parents don't understand. So they kind of rely on you a little bit. And then it's your job to make you, it feels like it's not even intentional that you pave the path for them to get there. That's a weight, but like that means there's no room for you to figure stuff on your own when you have this much weight of responsibility from your get-go. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is literally how that feels.
Yeah. So do you think there were times in your childhood that you wish you weren't the older sister?
I don't know any other way, so I can't say that. I don't think it's I wish I was not the... I loved being an older sister. I have two sisters. So I have the one that we're speaking about now, and then we have a younger sister. And when she became part of our family, I was just like, this is the best. I remember what it was like when I asked for my first sister. And I have a very special bond with my younger sister for that reason, because that was my approach then, and it wasn't that dissimilar this time. And like, she's going through like really tough teenage years and a lot of other dynamics around her season and stuff, and she's growing up in a very different world than what we have. But like, that bond is still there. I love being an older sister. I love that she enjoys spending time with me, and she knows it's a safe place. I love that about being an older sister. I love that that's what's been either grafted in me or it's something that I'm supposed to do. I happily like love being that space for people. But like the part that I think that I do wish was different, and maybe this is just contextual, maybe there was a way that I could have been all of those things, but maybe I wouldn't have to have felt like this lack of freedom that I think that I didn't feel that I had because of how circumstances and how life was, people's responses to me in comparison to her sometimes were so different. And if they weren't like that, then maybe I would feel different.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, because I guess my concept of being an older sister is similar, but I have 8 years difference between my sisters.
That's a big jump.
So it was a very interesting thing, because I remember, similar to you, asking my mom and my dad, I really want a little sister.
It's about time, guys. Give me a sibling. Thanks.
I've enjoyed being the only. I've had enough attention now. I just need someone to claim me at this rate. Because when my sister was born, I was about 9, but I would say between 5 and 9, I was also thinking about, okay, what more, it'd be nice to have like a little friend around. And I can't forget this one time I went to my local pastor. I was like so young, and I said, can you pray that my mommy and daddy has a baby?
That is the sweetest thing.
And he prayed. He did.
And God answered.
And he answered. And it was like, yes, about time. Hello, I've been waiting. But then, the funny thing is, I actually don't have much memory of my sister when she was small.
Wow.
It's like I almost have blocked out that memory. And there is very, very few moments where I could remember when she was little. And I don't know if it's because I then became, I was then at the age where Friends was a big thing. And so she kind of came at the wrong time. I really wanted her, but it was just like a little bit off the mark. And I don't remember having much interaction with her because I thought put it this way, when I was younger, I thought if I have a little sister or brother, I'll be able to play with them. They'll be able to like do everything I do. But my concept of babies at the time was very limited. So when she actually arrived, I realized all she does is sleep and eat.
And that's the way of babies.
And it was just like, you're useless right now.
What am I getting from this deal?
This is not what I signed up for. But I think as I got older, I've started to build a connection with her. And I think the age gap was just so wide. It was hard for me to connect with her growing up because then, like I said, Friends became a thing. I wanted to like be a part of the cool crew and all of that stuff. And we just had very different mentalities. Like I was very much ahead. But now she's 18. I think in the last year or two, I would say we've become a lot closer. Now she's of age where I can sit down, have a chat with her, you know, talk about loads of different things and actually communicate and build a relationship with her. And it's been brilliant. Like I absolutely love it. But there is, I don't want to say that I've been envious or I wish I was younger, because I don't. Similar to you, I've enjoyed being the older sister. I've enjoyed looking after her. I've enjoyed kind of being that mother figure and, you know, showing her what independence can look like. But the envy actually came from her side, funnily enough. She has been, and if she's listening to this, I'm sorry, Reese. But deep down, she is jealous of, and we've had, you know, conversations about this. She has been envious and jealous of the way that I get to do stuff and the freedom she perceives me to have that she doesn't have.
You have also earned it. Hello.
Thank you. She doesn't recognize that yet.
Like full-blown grown woman having to earn her way and do all that stuff independently. So,
but she gets so agitated. Like now she's 18. She still has restrictions.
Yeah.
And rightly so. But she thinks that she can get away with stuff because I've done it. Like, so now she's comparing her life to mine.
Your season is so different.
Why Evelkah get to do that and I haven't done that? Or, you know, if Evelkah gets to go out, I need to go behind her, kind of thing. And I'm just like, honey, stay in your lane.
That is such an older sibling thing. Let me just remember.
Let's go back to the basics. Let's go to the foundation. But you know, we've had open conversations and, you know, she's also told me, right, you know, to my face, she was just like, I'm also jealous that you're smarter than me.
Wow. And,
you know, it literally hurts me inside because I'm that type of person. I want everyone to win. You know that. Like, I'm just like, if you put your mind to it, let's go for it. But with her, it's slightly different because she has her own kind of lifestyle. She has her own mindset. She has her own kind of priorities and so on and so forth. But she has said, like, you know, you get to do all of this and, you know, you get to drive and get your own car and all of that stuff. And she's just like, I do feel jealous that I can't, you know, be as smart as you or get the jobs that you get. And I genuinely, especially when it comes to school, when she was in high school, that's when it became more prominent because she say, you know, mommy compares me to you a lot and blah, blah, blah. And I think that has driven this sense of jealousy in terms of she's had me as a comparison and that's kind of her.
And with such a big age gap, that is a very difficult kind of like, that's a bar that's like just too far ahead.
Yeah.
It's interesting because my sister has always said on the same thing. She's like, what I've loved is that I would set a platform for her to stand on. But the age gap allowed for that.
Yeah.
So I literally just maybe be a step or two ahead. 4 years is really nothing, particularly when you get closer to adult years. But like, she's like, it helped that you gave me the insight. It's like, oh, so that's what I need to do. Whereas like I have to go in blind to like new jobs, going to university for the first time, figuring out new spaces. She said it always helped that like you went ahead, and I would, because I was always bringing her along. She got like prior insights to stuff. So when she got there, it's like, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, when you have an age gap that is as far as you and your sister, that must feel even harder, because like, how does she really catch up with that?
Yeah.
That kind of coming closer together in adulthood is going to happen later for you guys.
A lot later. And I think, you know, we are slowly getting there. It's still, I don't think we've reached our peak, where we can, you know, look back and laugh about these things now. But because she's still young, she's still navigating life, and her life is very different to mine, because I grew up in the Caribbean for most of my teenage life, and she grew up here in the UK. So our lifestyles and livelihood is very different. Right. So, you know, the comparison is even harder to make, because we weren't raised in the same environments. And I do feel terrible, and I do feel sad of that fact. But, you know, my dad always says, like, your sister looks up to you. Like, she really does. And I'm so aware of that. But I'm also aware of the fact that I don't want her to see my life as something that's unattainable either, because we are so far apart. What I do now,
you're so different as well in personality.
We are very different.
So like that is like an unfair gauge of comparison, because your lifestyles and your life choices will take you in completely different directions.
100%.
So that will be a tough one.
So, you know, we talk about it, and she would say how frustrated she is sometimes, and how jealous she is, and, you know, she compares a lot with me, and, you know, it's just like, how do I then like navigate that aspect of, you know, with a younger sibling and me being the eldest, and trying to show her what's possible, but at the same time not, you know, demonstrating something that she can't attain, or where she feels like she has to compare everything to me, because I shouldn't be a point of comparison, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's very interesting. So
final thoughts then: envy of self, old self, and family's envy.
It's complicated. I think it's such a multifaceted and complex kind of scenario to be within, and it's an evolving process. I don't think there's going to be one point where all of the envy absolutely dies out. I don't think, because you're gonna, I don't know, look at your sister, and she may have things that you may not yet have, and it's just like, you know, you're gonna obviously be that kind of contention of, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could have what she has or he has. But, you know, focus on your lane. As I tell my sister all the time, stay in your lane, honey.
Honestly, and I
do you, boo.
And we mentioned this, I think, in our first episode on envy, in terms of like, take the opportunity when you feel that tension kicking in between envy and inspiration, is either to like assess what is making you feel discontented, start filtering life through a gratitude lens, and also when it comes to family dynamics, like it's a complex one, but like we all have different maybe experiences of what that might look like. But like you say, it's pursuing the relationship to navigate that space until you get to a resolved space. That is always so worth it.
100%.
Yeah, good one. All right. See you at the next episode.
Thanks, guys.